So you want to make a film while you're stuck in the house, right? So we have someone here today who is, I watched clips from his films this morning, and they're incredible. In fact, I want to be in one of his films. He's so damn good. Mr. Jared Hillman. Hello. I felt like Oprah when I did Mr. Jared Hillman. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you. That was a very kind introduction. I really appreciate it. And I'm happy to be here to, talk a little bit about making films, and especially making films when you're stuck at home and with few resources, fewer than even you'd normally have to make an independent film.
Right.
But when you ask how I'm doing, I will say, getting involved in projects, personal projects, creative projects, and whatnot, it's been really helpful to getting through the anxiety and occasional boredom, definitely fears, all the feelings that are going on right now for me personally, speaking from my personal experience, you know fears that we're all sharing. But from my personal experience, it's these creative projects like making a film that can really focus you in on something else and be cathartic and therapeutic in that way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, thank God for this. Thank God for Performing Arts Studio West and being able to connect with people like you, because it keeps me sane at this time. Or it keeps, although, some people think I'm insane, but
But it
I,
is important to be doing either things that are as close to quote unquote normal, like, continuing the classes going, and or focusing in on some kind of task or project,
exactly.
I,
Exactly. And I was on Facebook, I think it was last week, and I was looking at yours and your honey, Natalie Lander's Facebook, and I saw, one week I saw one video. It was a music video, which was brilliant. What is it? What is it called? Quarantine?
the music video is called Sit Back, Relax, and it's a parody of a song called My Neck, My Back. There's some explicit lyrics in the original song, but this is a parody version,
Right.
encouraging people to sort of lean into quarantine and make the most of being able to relax if you're so lucky to just be home safely. Um, so Sit
Well,
Back, Relax is what you could look up if students want to check out the first video we made. Because the reason we're talking is because my wife Natalie and I sort of got inspired to make some videos while we're here at home. The first of them, like David said, is this music video.
which
Sit
is
back, relax.
hysterical. I've seen it several times, and you need laughter at this kind of time to keep you going. And I turn it on in the morning. I go, okay, I can start my day now, because it's so
Terrific.
true too.
Great, great. I'm so glad. I mean, that was one of the goals of it, was to bring laughter during this time. We needed it, so we made it to laugh while we're making it, and hopefully sharing that and putting it out there, letting other people laugh too. And you can find that if you want to look that up to check out what we're talking about. It's on a couple platforms. It's on Facebook for Natalie Lander, who's my wife. She's an actor, and she put it on her Facebook page, but also on YouTube. If you look up Sit Back, Relax, or Natalie Lander as a channel, you'll find it there.
She is one of, by the way, she's one of the funniest actresses out there. And credits, I mean, of course, you probably all remember her from The Middle. But voiceover, this, that, and it's just incredible.
Thank you.
I was thinking about it, and just the way you are in person, the two of you, as well as working together, it's like truly puzzle pieces fitting together.
Thank you. Thanks. I think as we feel that way. We feel that way in our relationship, and when we've gotten the opportunity to work on little things together, we feel that way too. So I appreciate that. She has an Instagram, Natalie_Lander, where you can see the videos that we've been making. And I think I might have mentioned this already, but YouTube, her channel, has it as well. And I'll actually talk about that a little bit as we talk about maybe how people want to make their own video right now, like how to decide what platform you want to put it on, and maybe the pros and cons. Not that I am an expert on the self-distribution of things in any way, but I can just tell a little bit about our experience with it.
Oh, I love it. Before you do, I've got to shut my window because the garbage truck is outside. There we go.
I think I heard a garbage truck at about 3 a.m. today, unless I was dreaming. But I was like, wow, they're really still out there doing it.
You sure
Thank
are.
goodness someone is. Yeah.
Sure are. So what is it? So what is that advice for people? Okay, they're sitting here and they say, well, how can I do this?
Yeah. Well, let me take a half step back and just mention the second video we made. That way,
oh my God, yes.
If you want to check them out.
The birthday video.
This is a birthday video. Yeah, Natalie had a birthday during quarantine, and Natalie likes to gather with friends. She's got a lot of close friends, and would have done something fun for her birthday in person with people this year, but instead here we are. And so she had this idea to do another parody video, but not a music video. This one was a parody of the MTV series My Super Sweet 16, which was an MTV reality show following, more or less, with no offense meant to any of the subjects of that original show, spoiled teenage girls who want like the biggest, most extravagant Sweet 16 birthday they could possibly imagine. They want to be brought in on a helicopter and all this other stuff, ridden in on a stallion and a chariot and all that. So she made a video called My Super Sweet Quarantine Birthday, about her, a version of her, spoiled version of herself, making the most of trying to have a birthday party for one. So now, that's also available on those same platforms, on Facebook, on YouTube, and also on her Instagram.
Did you write it? Did you write it together, or did she write that, or how do you work together when you create?
We usually write things together when we've worked together, because we've also made a couple of more produced films than these videos in quarantine. But really, I got to say, she invented both of these concepts. It was sort of her itch that we needed to scratch when it came to like, I want to make a video. I wasn't the spearheading force on that. I was the creative support on that and the production support on that. Right. So she wrote these pieces, really. But what you end up seeing in the video is a mix of what she wrote and spontaneous moments that we devised together, in the moment. Yeah. That's where it really gets fun, because, you have the opportunity to make something that doesn't have a lot of rules, right? You're making it for yourself. You're shooting it with whatever camera you have around. You're shooting with whatever resources. And speaking for ourselves, we're not low on time. So if we have another idea, yeah, unlike most sets, why not shoot it? So in that video, especially in that quarantine birthday video, My Super Sweet Quarantine, you'll see moments that we just came up with on the spot, and I think you can tell certain things feel very spontaneous, and they're some of my favorite beats in the project.
When it just happens. Yeah, when it just happens like that, it's just like,
Yeah, exactly. Natalie sort of had a general idea of what this scene or this moment would be. For example, she has a dance party for one, but then we're in the house and we decide, oh, it'd be funny if she gets dizzy, or it'd be funny if she dances with that houseplant, and then that idea became another idea. And so we definitely kept writing as we went. That was one of the fun things about making these videos, on your own, and without any oversight. They're for you, which so let's go to coming up with the idea. Let's start with just ideation and deciding what you might want to make. I think, we talked about how nice it is that a video can just sort of focus your own creative energy. So there's one aspect of this video that's just, it's for you. It's not about putting it out on the internet or even having any audience, right? There can be just the joy of figuring it out and making something, literally, the equivalent of strumming on a guitar just in your living room, even if you don't know how to play, and you can just kind of like feel the vibration and you kind of think, oh, that's cool. I just made that sound. You can't really see here, but I'm like miming a guitar. There's a film version of that too. And we do it a lot. We don't think of it as filmmaking sometimes, but we take our video camera on our phone and we just film ourselves, or we do something. But you can make a more narrative film, or more experimental but broader than just a selfie video, and just really be doing it for yourself to feel good and feel like you're creating something, and let your imagination become something you can then see in front of you. And then of course there's the other aspect in deciding, oh, do you want to distribute this? Who do you want to, who's your audience if you want to have an audience? I like to emphasize that you don't have to have an audience to create something, right? Even film, which we associate so much with, oh, but someone has to watch it, and view counts are so made important. But especially right now, when we're looking for ways to cope, think of one way of doing this as making something for yourself. And then additionally, whether you want to put it online and who wants to see it. So I think Natalie initially just was inspired by sitting around, feeling a little bit of guilt about can I just literally sit here? It's a weekday, and can I just sit back and relax? And her sort of modus operandi is musical. I mean, that's what she loves. So she started thinking about songs about it. And then she started to think about an audience. Yeah, what if we put out something online that was funny? Let's make people laugh. We want to laugh. Let's make people laugh. And finding that connection between that original My Neck, My Back song and Sit Back, Relax song, it was like a little hook into that lyric similarity that just opened the floodgates for her vision on that particular song. But that's doing a parody song. You might want to do something, or students might want to make something that explores a character they created. I know you had a video lesson not too long ago about creating new characters. That would be something, that would be maybe the start of an idea of what you want to make.
Now, here's the thing. I mean, do you have a camera, or did you use your phone, or what?
Good question. Yeah, I do have a camera. It's an old camera. I mean, meaning it's probably a 10-year-old camera, right, which in digital cameras is old, but worked quite well for us. You can definitely use your cell phones, obviously. In fact, the picture quality is great, so I would recommend it. Yeah, right now you're really looking probably at when you're creating the idea or coming up with the idea of what you want to say. It's good to, at the same time, think about how you're going to produce it. When I'm writing a script of a short film that I'm going to produce with a crew and bring to a film festival, that's a lot different than what Natalie is doing to invent here when we're planning to do this, just the two of us, with just the resources we have. So yeah, it's good to think about whether you have your phone. Do you have a tripod, or are you going to have to use your laptop screen like this, or are you going to have to prop your phone up on a creative ledge and things? These may be things that affect how you want to tell the story. They may affect what the story is that you want to tell. So luckily for us, we have a tripod and we had a camera. Although we also made a birthday video for some friends. We used our phone camera for that. We have a little bit of, we have like a ring light for selfie style and tutorial things. So we did have that resource, but you don't have to have that. It's important, to think about, even if you're just doing this totally by yourself, if you're at home and you're completely the only one making this video, you can't expect that you're going to be able to wrangle a parent or a roommate or anyone to necessarily be involved in it. So you may just be all by yourself. Important things that really fundamentals are, can you be seen well and can you be heard well? And luckily we also have microphones. So in the event that we wanted a dialogue scene, we have a lavalier mic, meaning a portable microphone that can clip onto your shirt and can remotely feed into the camera. But if you don't have that, and I'm guessing, most acting students at home don't necessarily have a lot of production equipment. So forgive me to those who do, if I presume that you don't. Forgive me to those who don't if you start saying, oh, this guy is talking about having all this equipment. Because the real truth is that right now, you can make something almost regardless of what you have. If you're watching this video, you probably at least have a webcam or a phone. And I'm gonna, at least for now, go along with the assumption that you have some way to record video and probably a rudimentary way to record sound. Maybe you have even a better microphone. But I would just at least maybe take an inventory of what you have before you, or while you're thinking of what you might want to create. It may serve you to sort of think of those things together, because you don't want to create, you may not want to create an alien invasion where you're in a car chase and buildings are falling, unless you happen to have experience with visual effects platforms, in which case this is a perfect time to do that, because you have time to animate and do those kind of things. I don't happen to know anything about that. So I'm looking at ideas that take place in and around home, that take place with objects you might have at home, that are smaller stories. And if you're looking at maybe even shooting on your laptop like this, you might even incorporate the interface of a Zoom chat or a vlog or something into the story. I mean, you could start really by coming up with a character and doing a monologue, writing a monologue and recording that just in here. And I would say all you need for that, and you could already be making a film, is make sure you're well lit. Like I'm sitting at a window now, so I'm well lit. Right. I say that, and I'm going to put an asterisk next to it, because it doesn't have to be well lit.
You're going to put what next to it?
A little asterisk, a little footnote, I should say. Because I was saying, oh, you want to be well lit? I'm by a window. You might use a desk lamp like I have here or something. Because, we've all been on those Zoom calls where you're kind of like, can't see someone, and looking like down here, you can't see, so make sure you're framed, unless you want, of course, to elicit some kind of suspense or horror, dramatic, darker thing, right? Then you can use sort of less lighting to your advantage.
Mean, the first week that I did the Zoom, I was facing a different way, so this was like dark and this was light, and I was thinking, it's yin and yang, but I did move it closer to the window, and I know today yin and yang, but I do need some new lights.
Well, I can see you pretty well. I'd say that's pretty good.
Okay.
A nice natural window light is pretty good, especially for what you're doing here with the presentation. It's great. Did you happen to watch this Saturday Night Live that was on this past week? Where
I watched parts of it. Yeah.
Yeah. What was so interesting, and for those who didn't see it, this was an episode where the entire cast did sketches from their homes. And some of them were funny and some of them weren't, and they knew that was the case. But what is potentially inspiring is that if you're thinking about maybe making something at home, you can see that that's what they did. They used what they had around them, and they did different formats. It started out with a monologue. It went to a music video. They did a sketch about Zoom, so there was already a good sense that, like, try something.
And they came together. I mean, you don't just have to be in your own house and create it. You can, and it could be amazing and wonderful, but you brought up something that made me think, because I have a friend who does animate. Of course, animation takes time. I mean, he worked on his 5-minute short, and he did everything, and it took him several years to do it. But at the same time, if somebody can, you could collaborate over Zoom or over the internet.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's true. You know, you're by yourself, but you're also not, because other people might want to create too. Maybe you have another classmate who wants to make something and you can do a scene together, or someone has a strength like animation and someone has something else. Or you could do a scene where you each play a different character. You know, you could either do it on Zoom or
Right.
you could record your sides sort of independently and cut the two scenes together.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks in his monologue, in fact, played a couple other characters for a moment. You know, he sort of cut away to Tom Hanks as this guy and Tom Hanks as that guy, and you could play around and experiment with that too. Um, what will I say though otherwise about production? Because I understand, like, you know, we don't. I don't know exactly what parameters you have. You know, we talked about maybe having a limited equipment, camera, and whatnot. Um, you might want to think about what platform, if you are looking to put it on the internet, you might want to think about how you want to film it if you're using a phone. If you're going to do YouTube, you'll want to do it horizontally. And if you're doing something like Instagram, you might have you might want to go vertical and put it on your Instagram story, but you might want to stay horizontal and put it on the IGTV feature. But just give it a little bit of thought, because I think a lot of people, when they're not making a film, right, we just generally now turn on our phone and it's vertical. And when you're trying to make something else that then looks like more of a video, as the way, you know, a film or a video that we know more traditionally, we're like, oh shoot, we did it vertically. So just give a little thought to where you might want to put it when you're deciding what shape to make the video to. And then the content can be anything. It can be humorous, it can be a parody of something, or it can be, you know, original character scene, again, where you play both characters, because why not? There are no rules. Or you collaborate with someone who's either at home or out there on the internet, another classmate.
Well, what you're saying too, and what rang a bell with me, which I fight within myself sometimes, but as I'm getting older, and hopefully before I'm into the next life, I'll learn it, is to trust in yourself and your own talents, and um, allow them to create, and just throw it out there,
That's right.
because if you're enjoying it, other people will enjoy it too. Not everybody, but you never know.
That's right. And you have to sort of ask yourself, especially when you're making something in a circumstance like this, you know, the reasons why you're making it are varied. And like we said at the beginning, it's not even necessarily just to entertain other people, but it's for you. And if you do want to entertain other people, which I think is usually the goal of actors, right? Usually, although I want to encourage you to be able to perform just because it feels good.
Yeah.
But if you want to entertain other people, yeah, I think if you're enjoying it and you're laughing, there's a chance someone else will. Like you said, it may not be everybody, but someone else will find that funny, or someone else will find that enjoyable,
Well,
and that's enough, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. And some people, I know one of the students said, well, I had trouble with the meditation class the other day. Other people loved the meditation class that we did. But in a way, connecting meditation to this is, sometimes as a meditation, I cook. I
Mm-hmm.
make my soups. Or this can be a meditation. I mean, it doesn't have to be like, it's just focused meditation of doing something that you want, which heals you.
Right. And I say it for exactly that reason, do it if you're drawn to do it. You know,
Right.
don't watch this and say, oh, I really should be making a film right now, or I should make this, you know, do it if you feel really drawn to say, yeah, I feel like acting in something. What can I act in? Oh, I'll write something. I can film it. You know, there's like all those things that you can do if you feel drawn to it. You know, I think sometimes about slightly peripheral, but I think about, you know, certain monks who rake this sand, and you think of it as a very tedious sort of process that takes focus, but that is similar to cooking for you, or painting for me, or making videos. You know, sort of zoning in. Actually, when I draw and paint, which I love to do as a meditation, I think of it as zoning in and zoning out at the same time. And it really is even more meditative for me than meditation. And making a film or a project like this could be that for you also. And I'll say, I consider myself a filmmaker. I studied film in film school. I've made videos like this since I was little. But I will admit, it wasn't the first thing I wanted to do when this lockdown began. I wasn't drawn immediately to like, yeah, I really want to make a video. But Natalie was. And when you're lucky to, it can be a collaborative thing. You know, if you have even one person who wants to join you. So that was a nice thing for us. And once I got into doing that with her, I got into doing that with her. So we really had a good time. But getting over that hump of sort of figuring out what you want to do, or if you want to do, I mean, those are tough little obstacles to overcome when no one's telling you what this needs to be. You know, you have a blank slate and you might say, oh man, it could be anything.
Yeah.
That's a good thing, and it's also an intimidating thing. So you might want to do something that's topical. You know, Natalie, this was on her mind, and we did 2 videos that were topical. They don't have to be topical at all. You know, they don't have to be parodies either.
Well, what's so good too about this time that we have is this is good even practice for when, you know, the Disability Film Challenge reopens, and we get the new dates for that with Nick and Vicky. So, or any challenges, or who knows, you might make something during this quarantine time that you could later submit to festivals.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely.
Or sell to Amazon. Who knows? I don't know.
That's true. That's true. I mean, this is true. It doesn't have to be, you know, it doesn't have to be a quick sketch. You could take time and make this into, you know, a more detailed project if you want. In fact, one exercise I was thinking that someone might want to do, you just wanted to say, what's the most, well, not the most basic, but I'm just thinking like, what would be a sort of simple entrance into doing this? Let's say you've never done these kind of things before and you're sitting at home. I was thinking, well, one thing you could do, in addition to potentially a monologue of a character you've created and filming it with your phone or laptop, is doing that, but also figuring out what background, and this is sort of an exercise in production design and directing, is if you filmed in your house, what background really makes the most sense. You know, when we self-tape auditions and stuff, you're usually on a blank wall. Or as blank as you can basically have it. But if you were making a film and telling a story about this character, what in your house now could you put in the frame behind you that tells the story of who the character is with you? So then you're not just taking your acting as a character and your shot composition, but you're also incorporating the production design. So what can we learn about David from the shot composition here and the production design behind him? I see a stuffed animal. I see this beautiful scenic picture up above, which looks like potentially a Greek island.
I want to go.
Right? So is that what it might be? That
it is.
Behind me, you see this sort of colorful, artistic, semi-abstract piece. But if you were going to make a film about a character who potentially is living in the 1910s, I'm just throwing that out there, what around your house would you include? And more importantly, what would you exclude to tell that story, right? I certainly wouldn't have this colorful modern art piece, but this bureau thing is, you know, potentially looks like it could have existed 100 years ago. And your shot can be close up, you know. Well, that's still a wide angle, so you're seeing a lot of the room, but you can decide how much information you even want to share. Maybe you only have one piece of furniture that looks era appropriate, and so you'll frame up maybe closer or at a certain angle so you only see that. But anyway, that could be a fun exercise to kind of get you thinking of how much story you can tell in just one shot by decorating the room a particular way.
Yeah. Guy, I could talk to you. I mean, you have so much knowledge. I mean, going to NYU, going to USC, you know, all these films that you've done. You were an actor. You still are an actor, right?
Yeah, I'm still an actor. I've been doing more directing lately,
Yeah.
but I still act.
I mean, I was watching your reel too. You need to go to his website because it's, what is it, jaredhillman.com?
Yep, it's just jaredhillman.com, and you'll see right off the bat it starts and it splits you into two directions. You can either check out my acting work or the directing work, and you can always go back and forth and see the other stuff. But yeah, I started acting a little bit as a kid, in fact,
Right.
and then I developed an interest in making videos as a really as a kid, young adult, started to make more of that and decided to study film production when I went to college. And then continued to act and build a television resume during that time. So I've sort of gone back and forth between acting and directing, and people frequently ask, well, what do you like better? What do you really want to do? And to me, it feels like a lot of one thing, a lot
Yeah.
of the same thing, two sides of the same coin.
Right.
But as if your students are really are there primarily as actors, I often will remind myself that even some of the actors that we don't think of as being content creators, as having to write, sometimes, especially Natalie and I, Natalie is very committed to the acting side. She wrote these videos we made, and yet she doesn't think of herself as a writer. She wants to be performing, and yet she's writing and creating stuff, and we've written stuff together.
Writer.
And I remind myself, Vin Diesel,
Yeah.
who no one thinks of as a filmmaker, he's a movie star, he's an action star. Even he got his break by making a short film that he was in. Luke Wilson, the Wilson brothers, like they started out, writing their own short, Bottle Rocket, or Owen Wilson at least.
Well, look at Sylvester Stallone, Rocky.
Sylvester Stallone wrote Rocky. Yep. Billy Bob Thornton, wrote Sling Blade. And I feel, and anyone that started on SNL, or a lot of comedian actors, Adam Sandler, like they were writing their own stand-up. So there's like a long history. In fact, Natalie only really recently realized that her own father, who's an actor and has been an actor for decades,
love him.
She like, it suddenly dawned on her. He's like, oh yeah, even he created that character he's known for, and that was him having written and essentially being a content creator 30, 40 or 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So I say that to empower you, to say, oh, it's not because we're not getting work that we have to make our own thing. It's like, really, that's been a history where people make their own stuff and direct and write characters they want to play. So this is a good opportunity to do that and experiment with who you might want to play.
And being creative beings, we need to create. So this is the time.
Yeah.
And don't force yourself either. If it happens, it happens. But if you want to do it, go for it.
Yeah, that's why, you don't have to feel it has to be anything or reach anything beyond putting the camera in front of you and performing something or acting, any little thing out. Don't think of it as necessarily needing any other goals. Feel free to set other goals for yourself, but do it if you want to. It doesn't have to be. I do want to say, because we've talked all about this production, you'll get this footage at the end and you may want to cut it together in a process that resembles film editing. You don't have to. You can do something in one shot or one take, like a monologue. But if you do, I would just encourage students to look into what some of the most accessible and affordable editing softwares are. Usually there's something built into your laptop that's rather basic, like iMovie on the Apple format. If you have an opportunity to check out Adobe Premiere, which is a subscription-based thing, so it's not necessarily buying hundreds of dollars for a long time. You could try it for a free trial if you don't have it. But, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about doing that, now is also a good time there are so many free tutorials about how to use those programs. So I won't get into necessarily how to cut the videos together now. I think that could be a whole other series. And luckily, they're already out there on YouTube. So students, you guys can learn how to use that if you don't already know. And there are some very basic mobile apps that'll let you cut a couple of shots together and add transitions and titles. So there are ways to do it. Try not to feel too intimidated if you haven't done it. And if you have done it, maybe reach out to some of your other classmates and say, hey, I've done this. So if you guys are making a video, I can show you how, or I can do some of the editing. I would guess that at least one of you has done some video editing, and maybe you want to, yeah, trade skills in videos that your classmates might be making too. And when you're doing that, you might also want to think about music and sound effects. Again, I can't go into exactly how you'll do each of these things, but you've watched enough content, right, to know that some moments feel like they need a dramatic score, or something maybe needs a little funny sound effect.
That's when I was watching your reel, your directing reel, to hear all the different music for each of the pieces, and to see how polished, yet at the same time all your work breathes so much. You could see there's a flow, but there's a structure, and it's exciting to watch it and to see it and go, wow. I mean, you know what you're doing, and it's
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. When the music really works well, when you want music, and especially on a reel where I'm using score from the finished pieces to kind of drive a summary of those pieces in the reel, it's great when that music just really feels like it works. And there are libraries online where you can get inexpensive royalty-free music if you wanted to get something legally, because you're going to put this in festivals or try to distribute it. That would be one way to do it. For example, a site called Audio Jungle I use all the time for all kinds of things. I'll use a little clip that, a clip of music that costs $10, and then I'll hear it on a national commercial because they've used it also. But if you're making a video, we don't have rights to the songs we used in our videos just now because we're not intending to distribute them commercially or at a festival. So think about, what level of commercialism you feel you need out of it. If you want to just be creative like we were doing because this is quarantine and we want to make something, and you can still put it on YouTube and still share it with people.
Not that we're
popular songs.
Not that we're going to use our instructors like Joe and anybody who creates music, Alexander, Joe, they write scores. I mean, Alexander's brilliant at it. We don't want to burden him right now, but other people who are out there, you might put it out there into Ethernet. You might connect with these people, create something that, people who write music. And then, once we get out of this quarantine too, you'll have the score for your next film coming up too.
That's right. That's right. In fact, if the Alexanders, who I think you might be referring to, some of his scores are in my reel that you see, and that students, if they check it out, might see.
Really? So, Alexander Tovar? Is it?
No, a different Alexander, but someone that I met through you years ago. Yeah.
Well, thank you for this. This is, this inspired me to create something and move forward.
I'm so glad because, without getting into every detail of the film you want to make, and telling, and sort of helping make the film itself. If there's one thing I could do is sort of say, you have the freedom to do it. You have some time to do it.
Yeah.
You have some basic tools that'll let you do it. And to go for it. Hopefully you're motivated to just make something and keep performing because you have some time to do it if you feel so inclined.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing what the students bring in.
Yes,
or what they create. And please send love to Natalie and the family.
Thank you. Yep, Natalie sends her regards too, and wishes you all lots of inspiration during this time. And hopefully you have a good experience making what you make, whatever that is.
Yeah, and then we can all watch it.
Yeah, exactly, and then share it with us. Oh, you know what I should say, David, because I mentioned sharing it.
Okay.
And I just want to say, if you're gonna put things on the internet, it's important to reiterate that the internet is permanent in a certain way. Exactly. So I'm saying, be creative and put whatever out there, do your characters and stuff. But what I mean by it's permanent is just to be sure that what you do put out publicly, at least, if you want to make your settings public on whatever you're sharing, if you do share your videos, remember that it should be something you really believe in. It's something that you aren't afraid that would be okay for your, what do I want to say? David, you know what I'm driving at? It needs to be something you're going to be okay with having seen 20 years from now. You know,
exactly.
I'm not saying you should necessarily censor yourself. I would hate to suggest that. But whatever you do say, know that you need to be able to stand behind it and stand by it potentially forever. I wouldn't put some nudity on the internet unless you are really sure you want it out there forever. And the same goes for sensitive subject matter in terms of politics or other things. I just want you to really think about what you put out there if you're going to make it public. You don't have to think about it at all if you're just going to make it. And I encourage you to go for that with all your might. But if you're going to put it publicly, just give one more thought to, is it okay that people are seeing this, and how comfortable are you having that out there potentially forever? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, and good luck with all the inspiration to everybody.
Yes, and once this all gets over, this COVID thing, we would love to have you come visit again at Performing Arts Studio West and meet the biz if you want.
So. Terrific. Thank you so much. I appreciate that open invite. Have a good one, and be safe.
You too.